So I've just had a single 32,000 US dollar payday. That's 32 grand going into my actual bank account in a single day. Now, admittedly, that is quite impressive, but that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part about all of this is that to earn this money, I did less than 10 hours of work per week. My profit margins are over 91%, and every single cent that I made came from clients that came to me on autopilot for my products and services, all organically without spending a single dime on paid advertising. And just so you guys know, I have 0 team members besides 1 YouTube video editor and a short form content editor. That's it. It's just me by myself and nobody else. For those that don't know me, my name is Montel Gordon, and I've been documenting my entire entrepreneurial journey here on YouTube for the last 5 years, 6 months, and 14 days to be exact. And in that time, I've gone from 3.5k in debt all the way up to now making over 900k, and I'm merely weeks away from crossing over and making my first ever $1 million online in sales at the age of 27. So exactly how did I get here? For you to understand that question, we're going to need to take a trip down memory lane back to my most important day as an entrepreneur, December the 16th, 2016. I was 20 years old, confused about where I stood in the world, what my place was, and where I wanted to go in life. And as we're all forced to believe by society and our parents from pretty much the day that we're born, I was under the illusion that in order to become successful, you had to go to school to get good grades so you can get into the best university that you possibly can, so that you can get the best and flashiest degrees, put all those flashy letters behind your name so that you can actually land a job at a prestigious company, get job security, and work the best part of 40 years all the way up until 65, where you retire with a comfy, cushioned 401k and you retire at 65. To me though, that sounded completely fishy. It sounded completely off. And honestly, I used to sit down and ask myself, like, who in the right mind really wants to be able to afford a Ferrari at the age of 65 years old when your knees are pretty much giving out? You wouldn't even be able to get in the damn thing, never mind get out of it. But then I also used to ask myself, who on earth was I to be questioning society and my parents at the ripe old age of like 20 years old? Like, I didn't know anything. I was not qualified. I probably should just follow along with what my parents were saying and what society was saying anyway. Like, who was I to be questioning that? So there I was at Sheffield Hallam University studying business and ICT on a business and ICT course, thinking that that would give me the best possible shot at becoming a successful business owner sometime in the future.
Because again, I knew deep down inside there was no way I wanted to drive a Ferrari at the age of freaking 65 years old.
Fast forward into December 2016, young, broke, and clueless Montel was in his final year at Sheffield Hallam University, and I had just been hit with a very severe case of the entrepreneurial bug only a few months before my final exam that would then lead to my graduation at Sheffield Hallam University. You see, just a few months prior to my graduation, I had made the huge mistake of deciding to finally pick up a business book and read it for the first time in my entire life. And little did I know that after reading this book, my life would never be the same. And look, I know that this is probably going to sound cliche, but I would go as far as to say that the very neural pathways in my brain, the wiring in my brain, irreversibly changed from that day on. I instantly became a completely different person that looked at life in a completely different way. In fact, I would go as far as to say that things that I was looking at and used to think was normal in society became completely foreign to me, and things that I used to think were acceptable were no longer acceptable to me. It was almost like I started to become conscious of the lie that I was living in for the last 20 years that was sold to me and to you by society and by our parents. And I started to really understand why. This book had completely and irrefutably confirmed to me that my suspicions were right. Going down the path that was set in front of me and that I was heading for, that was sold to me by society and our parents, was only going to end up me winding up like the rest of the 90% of the population, which is miserable, broke, working a job that they don't like, living paycheck to paycheck, and entrapped into a 9-to-5 system that we call society, where you're merely a disposable cog within a greater machine. This book, honestly, has shown me things I had never even seen before, things that I could not unsee. And the book I'm obviously referring to is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I cannot even explain to you guys how genuinely, truthfully grateful I am to Robert Kiyosaki and for Rich Dad Poor Dad, because if it weren't for that book, I would not be here speaking to you guys right now. It's the same book that sparked my entire entrepreneurial journey. Now, having read Rich Dad Poor Dad and armed with the knowledge within the book, it gave me the confidence to go ahead and quit university, drop out, and decide to start my own business. Because I knew deep down that if you really wanted to escape the 9-to-5 system, you're going to need to start some sort of business, because entrepreneurship is the only viable way. And therefore, I came up with my first ever business venture, which was a clothing brand called Claremont Clothing. This to me wasn't just a business. It wasn't just business venture number one. It was a way for me to escape the 40-40-40 scam, where you work 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life to hopefully retire on 40% of everything that you've earned, known as a pyramid scheme, the pyramid scheme. So, December the 16th, 2016, still to this day, it's the most important day of my entire life as a human on this planet, because it marks the exact day of the death of the old me that was trying to just please society and please my parents by doing things they wanted me to do. And it marks the birth of the new me and my whole entire entrepreneurial journey. And if it wasn't for dropping out of university and taking this perceived risk, I wouldn't be here sat talking to you right now on camera, explaining to you how I've just made 76% of one of my university lecturers' entire yearly salary in a single day, all at the age of 27. So if you're listening to this right now, I can honestly say with a hand on my heart, it was honestly worth it, but it was not a walk in the park. So here's exactly how I did it. So let's jump into this. To briefly bring you up to speed, the clothing line itself, Claremont Clothing, that failed after 12 months of trying. It didn't even get off the ground. It also put me into $2,000 worth of debt. My parents completely and financially cut me off when they figured out that I dropped out of uni, and my bills came flying at me at lightning speed. In fact, I became so broke that I couldn't even afford my $40 per month phone bill for my dinky old iPhone 7. Wherever I wanted to go, my friends had to pay for me because I couldn't even afford public transport. I even remember having to borrow my little brother's old iMac to start my entire business. I was in debt. Debt collectors were sending letters to my door. Parents were cutting me off financially, so there was no point asking for help from anybody. It was just me against the wall with my back against the wall. So I ended up homeless and with full-blown panic attacks and a whole bunch of debt. My total debt amounted to $3.5K USD when I first got started with my whole YouTube channel, which was January the 15th, 2018, which is 1 month after I failed my clothing line. So my life at this point was not great. It was embarrassing. And to be honest with you, my phone didn't even have any Wi-Fi or cellular service because the company shut off my phone. So at this point, I'm completely desperate. It's December 2017. I've decided to call it quits with the clothing line 1 year on, despite it not even getting off the ground. I've got letters being sent to my parents' house talking about debt collectors are coming to take certain possessions. It was honestly scary, and I was desperately scouring the internet at my girlfriend's house, just trying to find a viable business model where I can actually make some money just so I can support myself. And to my surprise, came along dropshipping. All the gurus were talking about it. It seemed legit to me at the time, and it just sounded like the least scammiest business model out of all the 85,000 business models I saw at that moment in time. So I thought, you know what else do I have to lose? Let's jump in. I'm already at rock bottom. How bad can things get? This has to be my $100,000 idea. So I dived straight into dropshipping without even giving it a second thought. I was so sold and so sure of the fact that I would become successful with dropshipping that I even decided to pick up a camera and start documenting my journey of me becoming an overnight success. That's how sure I was.
If you're new to the channel, I'm a 21-year-old digital entrepreneur who's documenting his journey from absolutely 0 to 100.
But lo and behold, guys, it all came crashing down just 4 months into my journey. At this point, I had 2 failed businesses, a terrible track record, anxiety attacks, debt, no phone service, and no stable home. My track record was awful, but I had one superpower on my side, and that is the superpower of determination. I was so determined not to give up that I would eventually go on to make something work. I then came across a brand new business model that everybody and their frigging uncle was talking about. And that business model, of course, that I'm talking about was SMMA and starting a social media marketing agency.
Knowledge.
I can remember instantly thinking, this one now is for sure my $100,000 idea. I took this one even more seriously and I dived in even deeper than I did ever before. There was no going back at this point. I was completely sold on the idea of becoming an entrepreneur. I just needed a vehicle to help me get there. So I heard about this SMMA stuff.
Knowledge.
It seemed even more legit than dropshipping. I dived right into it and I thought to myself, you know what? This one right here is the one for me, for sure this time. So I decided to follow all of the big names in the industry. I started looking into all their programs, their courses. I watched all their YouTube videos and I watched all of the courses that I could get my hands on for free because I was dead broke at this particular point. So I started studying those, getting into self-development, self-help, and just reading books, fixing my life and changing up my habits, my routines and disciplines, just so I could take this business model extremely seriously. I started turning things around in my life. However, to my dismay, I couldn't close a single client via cold outreach for an entire 16 months. So I went another 16 months, should I say, of being completely broke, arguments with my parents, and no stable home, bouncing back from my ex-girlfriends at the time to my parents' house whenever one of them couldn't facilitate me. It was absolutely embarrassing and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But here's the craziest part. Just as I was about to call it quits, I decided to do something crazy. I decided to switch up my agency and do something completely opposite to what everybody else was doing. You see, everybody, all the gurus, all the YouTubers, and everybody that was starting in SMMA was trying to do cold outreach where they themselves went out of their way to try and reach out to clients to try and get them on a call. And I said to myself, wait a minute, why don't I try to attract clients instead of chasing clients? You see, one of the massive problems with cold outreach is, well, it's just that. It's cold outreach. It's also oversaturated. It's invasive. It puts you in a position of weakness. And to make matters worse, to add insult to injury, it's extremely and stupendously time consuming. Not only that, but it's soul draining as well. The gurus had it wrong. So like I said, I decided to take the complete opposite approach. Instead of chasing clients, I decided to start attracting clients by building my name up and turning it into a small niche personal brand on LinkedIn. I mean, think about it like this. When was the last time you bought something for $1,000 plus from a complete stranger after they called you out of the blue, giving you a random cold call? When was the last time you bought something like that?
Yeah, didn't think so.
So 33 days into my journey of trying to build up my name and attract clients on LinkedIn, lo and behold, I actually was able to pull in a client which came through one of my VSLs, which stands for a video sales letter. They booked in a call with me. I did no outreach and I closed them within 72 hours of jumping on the call with me for $1,000 plus. They were a real estate client from Leicester in the UK, and it was my first $3,000 deal because it was a 3-month contract. And just like that, I had proven to myself that I knew what I was talking about. I had proof of concept, and this one client right here was absolutely crucial to my entire success on the internet as an entrepreneur. And the best thing about closing this client was I was right. I had done zero outreach. I didn't do any lead sourcing, any prospecting. I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me, booked in a call with me, jumped on a call with me, and I closed them. It was the easiest call I had ever had at that moment in time for my social media marketing agency. And like I said just a second ago, closing this particular client was the most important thing I did because it was the one domino effect that sparked my entire success cycle as an entrepreneur on the internet. What the cash flow from this client allowed me to do was to invest into Upwork Outreach. So Upwork Outreach requires what you call connects. Upwork is just a freelance platform. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, shape, or form, but you need money in order to apply to jobs on Upwork, which are very, very warm leads given to you by Upwork. So I took the money from this $3,000 contract and I put it into Upwork Connects. I was then able to use Upwork to scale my agency to 5.2K, but it wasn't until April 2021 where I set myself a 90-day challenge to get to 10K per month that I actually got to 10K per month. So I took the cash flow I made from that first client, put it into Upwork Outreach, and then I built up Upwork Outreach over time, started landing more and more clients, got myself to 5.2K, took that 5.2K per month cash flow and put it into hiring appointment setters around April time. It was a little bit before April time, 2021. And that allowed me to finally get myself to that 10K per month mark. So finally, after 3 whole painstaking years of trying to build some sort of business, I was finally at 10K per month in May 2021. I will never forget it because my life has not been the same since. And since then, I've been able to pretty much achieve anything I wanted to achieve. I've been able to achieve my dream life. I'm right now living in my dream apartment, brand new. I've been able to buy my dream SUV, and I've been able to go on to scale 3 multiple 6-figure businesses at the age of 27 and cross over to making over 900K at this particular point. And like I said, I'm very close to cracking my first $1 million online in revenue. But none of this would have been possible if it weren't for me deciding to do the opposite of everybody else and start attracting clients instead of chasing clients by turning my name into a small niche personal brand, because it was that allowed me to attract my first client, get that initial crucial cash flow that allowed me to invest into Upwork, and then Upwork took me to 5.2K, and that cash flow allowed me to afford appointment setters that built my agency to that 10K per month mark and beyond, which then in turn allowed me to open 2 more businesses on top of that. Now, fast forwarding to present day, there's only 2 things I actually do. I run a consulting business called sixfigurename.com, and I have a single educational program for agency owners that want to start off their own agency, because I have that skill and that knowledge and how to inside of my own head. So I put it into a program. That's it. Those are the only 2 income streams I have right now. And here's the craziest thing about my life. I spend less than 2 hours a day on work. That's less than 10 hours a week. Most weeks I make anywhere between 40 and 90K depending on the month. I have 94% profit margins most of the time. I have 0 employees. I spend 0 money on ads. I don't have an outreach team, and I don't do outreach myself. And best of all, I am not stuck doing any client work or any service delivery. It's all done already. At this moment in time, it's just me. I'm a one-man show besides my 2 video editors, and I'm happier than ever before. I'm healthier than ever before. I'm more profitable than ever before. And more importantly, I'm more fulfilled than ever before. And honestly, I can genuinely say that this is all thanks to me, first of all, learning very valuable skills, then authentically building my name into a small niche personal brand, and then taking my knowledge and monetizing that in the form of products and services. Oh, and by the way, if you check the link in the description, there's a completely free training on exactly how to do what I've just explained to you right here, right now. It's completely free. Go check it out, even if you don't have a clue what I'm talking about. So I guess in conclusion, and fast forwarding to today, people from all over the globe come to me for help with either starting and running a social media marketing agency, or they come to me for help when it comes to attracting high ticket clients for either their agency, any sort of high ticket service they sell, or if it's their coaching business, they come to me for help with our 6-figure name system at sixfigurename.com. And that is exactly how I've been able to make $37,000 in a single day by helping people solve real problems with real solutions in real businesses. Now, I'm sorry if you clicked on this particular video thinking you were just going to get like a straightforward answer, but honestly, it's just not as straightforward as you think so. It's just not binary. It's not black or white. In fact, what you're seeing today is just a tip of the iceberg. It's actually an accumulation of years, and I'm talking years of hard work. Also, thousands of dollars invested into my own education with my own money to learn the very skills I now help people with. So invest in yourself is really a great idea, because the people that invest in themselves, they first of all learn, and then they earn from the skills that they have. And the people that pay me to learn these skills from me see me as a creditable source in the industry. And when they do pay me to learn these skills, they make a significant ROI on their investment. Now, don't just listen to this video and take what I'm saying to you very lightly, because if you're watching this right now, yes, I'm talking to you. You can learn how to do this, and you can change your life doing this whilst changing other people's lives. All you have to do is decide to yourself and commit to yourself that you are worth it and that you are going to do this. So I want you to swear an oath to me right now that you're going to start looking into this stuff. And if you're here just wondering what it actually feels like to be making this kind of money, I do want to say yes, of course, it does feel really, really amazing. But honestly, it's just numbers on a board. But what I can say genuinely is that money does actually buy happiness. It actually does. I don't know why people say it doesn't, but it actually does. But not in the way that you think. It's more of an indirect thing. But to me, like I said, these are just numbers on a screen, and this is just a game. It's honestly just a game. And if you don't believe me, guess how I celebrated hitting a 32K payday. I'm not joking. I went and got myself a takeout, and I bought myself a Samsung T7 SSD, and I went straight back to work to create you guys a brand new free training. No, I'm not joking. That's exactly what I did on my 32K day. So with that being said, I implore you to actually click the link below in the description. Check out the free training. If it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's completely fine. You can X out at any time. It's completely free either way. In fact, it probably will be, and I can almost guarantee it will be, one of the most important 1 hour and 28 minutes you invest into your business. And in fact, I would go as far as to say it might be your rich dad, poor dad moment, like how Rich Dad Poor Dad had that moment for me, if that makes sense. And I just want to finish off with this note, last but not least. If I can achieve all of this success and achieve all of this with my life, you sure as hell can. Remember, I started with full-blown panic attacks, 3.5K in debt. I had no stable home. I was bouncing between my parents and my girlfriends. Not to mention that I had friggin' rats in the loft. There was literal rats infestation in the loft when I first got started. So if I can do all of this, you sure as hell can. Good luck and stay working hard.
Knowledge.